Hello there, welcome back to Jennie Designs with Paper and the 2024 Christmas card series. Get comfy and might get crafty. Today I will be using the Kristina Werner Concord and 9th Gift Bows die set. This is completely minimalistic but absolutely perfect. I'm also going to be using 2 pieces of pattern paper. I have some matte gold cardstock. I have 2 white card bases. I'm also going to be using the Kristina Werner Merry Trees for the sentiment. I pulled out Lawn Fawn Stitch Rectangle dies and my Sizzix Tim Holtz tag dies. We're going to make these cards look like gift packages. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my pattern paper and run it through my die cut machine with the Lawn Fawn large stitched rectangle, the largest of the large stitched rectangle dies. This will give the edging just a little bit of stitching. It's not super duper noticeable in the end, but it is just a little bit of a detail that is kind of perfect with the cards. Also, when I send a shaped die like this through my die cut machine, I don't put it in straight. That creates like that speed bump effect, and it makes a weird sound. Even if it doesn't really harm it, it sounds weird. So this die cut has the strings and the bows to create 2 sizes of ribbons on cards. They're also sized to go up to a 5x7 card. So while I am making a regular size USA 2 card, this clearly could be a larger card or project. I'm going to be layering the pieces together to make kind of a layered ribbon look. So the first thing I'm going to do is run the wider ribbon and bow through my die cut machines with both a red and a green cardstock. I am putting all of the pieces of the bow and the ribbon kind of in or on this little dish because my desk is always a hot mess. These are some of the projects I created 2 or 3 weeks ago before I got sick, where I just sat in my craft room for 2 days and created and had such a good time. And then I had all this footage I needed to edit and create videos with, and then I got sick, and well, so now we're back. This is actually the week of Thanksgiving in the United States, so when I'm doing this voiceover. So happy Thanksgiving. I hope you are going to have a great Thanksgiving, a great Friendsgiving, a great however you choose to celebrate. I hope you have a wonderful week. I get to have not all of my kids home this year. That's what happens when they grow to adults. Sometimes they have to spend time with their significant others, families. But I do get to have the majority of my kids home. So for the skinnier die, I'm using this matte gold cardstock. I am not sure what brand this is. I think it might be Hero Arts, but again, not sure. And lots of companies have a matte gold cardstock. It is like kind of a Christmas or holiday staple. I'm using my Cricut spatula to peel those pieces off my magnetic mat just so that I don't bend them too much or rip them. Also, this die is going to extend off the end of the cardstock, which is totally fine because, like I said, these are sized to go up to a 5x7 inch card, so I will be trimming them down off my project anyway. Also, I set that bow down on a part of the paper cardstock that had already been cut out, so I will have to go ahead and cut that bow again. Will not make you watch that happen for a 3rd time. So once I have the strings and stuff all cut out, I'm going to go ahead and assemble. I should mention that this is not real time. I sped this up to about 1.5 times speed, just because as I was editing one time, like real time, seemed really slow because this is a little bit of a finickier project. So I am taking the matte gold cardstock and I'm eyeball centering it into the colored cardstock. I look at the finished projects. They're not perfect, but you know what? If I was to double up ribbon, it would not be perfect anyway. And you know what? This is not perfection. This is creation, right? We are making things. We are enjoying the crafty project process. This is like my therapy, right? I lock myself in my craft room or shut myself in my craft room and ignore the world around me. So if it is not exact, that's okay because it's not math, right? The only thing I do in my life that I do things with exactness is baking, because baking is chemistry and kind of you need those exact measurements. But I will be honest, even then sometimes, sometimes I guess or I guesstimate. Once I have all of these ribbons layered up together, or the strings layered up together, I'm going to go ahead and start assembling my card front. You could use just one layer. You could use both of the skinny pieces together and make it look like you wrapped your package with twine. There are so many things you could do with this. You could use not Christmas paper and use it for birthday paper, wedding paper, anniversary, anything you would give a gift, a baby. I mean, this die set is very universal. It does not have to be just Christmas. I am going to put a little bit of adhesive on the back of my cardstock though, so that I can line it up on my grid mat and use the lines on my grid mat to line up the ribbon so that it looks straight. Is it exact again? Well, probably not, but I'm not counting. I'm not measuring. I don't care. And that makes it sound like I don't care if my card projects don't come out right. And that's not true. I just don't want this to be tedious. There are some things you have to do that are tedious, but this is not one of them. So this card I am creating is a landscape card. That means it is 5.5 inches wide by 4.25 inches tall. I am also doubling up the bows with the red cardstock or green cardstock. The other card panel will go regular portrait style. And that's just because I could. Like I said, these dies are meant to go up to a 5 by 7 inch card. You could use them for any card size in between. But once I have my little bow layered up, and this bow is like quintessential Kristina. I can remember back in the day when she would hand draw bows onto her cards, and this is like exactly the bow she would draw. So I'm going to go ahead and add the ribbon to our other card base, and for a minute I forgot that this was going to be a portrait style card, and I just glued the ribbon on anyway. Oh, see, there I remembered. Like I said, I'm just crafting away. I am not, no rhyme or reason. I'm just crafting away. So I'm going to go ahead, and this one's going to be more in the center. I'm using the grid lines again on my grid mat. Not exactly in the center, but more in the center. And then I'll go ahead and put this cross one more up at the top, like the top 1/3 of the card front. And because that's where, if I was wrapping a package, that's where I would place, that's how I would do it. We're going to go ahead and layer on the gold on top of our green bow here. I'm using the Bearly Arts glue. This is a fine tip glue applicator. It is perfect for these little teeny tiny skinny things. I had mentioned before that it showed up in my craft room because I needed something overnighted from Amazon, and this happened to be in the overnight category. But I do like it. Okay, the tags. I was a little bit worried that this tag would be too large for the package, or the gift, the card front, but then too small for a sentiment. But I did figure out how to make it work. So I pulled out some white cardstock, and I'm using a scrap of the red to do the reinforcement hole and a scrap of the green to do the reinforcement hole. When all is said and done, that was non-essential. You can't even see it on either card. Like I'm looking at, I guess maybe it pokes through a little bit on the green card, but it really was non-essential. However, I was not sure. When I was working on these tags, I was not sure how that was going to, I just knew I wanted this to look, the sentiment to look like it was the tag to the gift. So I'm going to go ahead and glue those reinforcers down using my tweezers, reverse clamp tweezers. Okay, so if you don't have a pair of reverse clamp tweezers in your craft room because you think they're non-essential, I beg to differ. I don't know how many years I crafted, even after seeing people use these tweezers, before I decided to acquire a set. And then I was like, oh yeah, this is like having a third hand. And sometimes in your crafting, you need that third hand. So for our tags, we're going to use the Merry Tree stamp set, and we're going to use 2 of the sub-sentiments in this stamp set, but we have to stamp them one at a time. I am using this little 6-inch ruler to line up my sentiment. This is, if the ruler is lined up against the edge, then the sentiment's straight, right? And I will be stamping, the first sentiment says, wishing you a, and I will be stamping them both the same. And I'll be using my Versaclear Nocturne Black ink. So once I get one tag stamped, I can go ahead and just stick the other one right in there in the same place and re-ink my stamp. And then I'm going to come in with the other sentiment that says Merry Christmas. And I will again use that little 6-inch ruler to make sure that my sentiment is straight. because while I don't necessarily care that it is centered between the hole and the edge of the tag, I do care that it is straight, because if it's going to be crooked, it needs to be obviously intentionally crooked, right? There are lots of ways to make sure that your sentiments are straight. You can use, there's grid mats that you can put in and stamp on to make sure they're straight, all kinds of things. I like that little ruler because I can actually shut my Cricut door and pick up my stamp before I move the ruler, and then the stamp stays in place. So my plan is to stick this tag beneath the bow and still have the sentiment visible, right? I had to figure that out. So first I put the bow down with some glue, and then I was like, okay, and now I can pick this up and kind of shove this tag in there. And then I realized I can't go under the ribbon like I would on a normal, like on a real package. I would slide that tag under the ribbon maybe a little bit, because it's glued down. So, you know, it's a work in progress. So I stuck the tag on there, and then I put the bow on and kind of moved it around until the bow was not covering up too much of the sentiment. I mean, obviously it's going to cover up a little bit, but not so much that you can't read it. And then once I had done the first one, I knew how to put the second one together because, you know, they're the same. They're the same but different. So I did put a little bit of glue on the back of the top of that tag, just the top, and then glue on the back of the bow. Once I had them glued down and I cleaned up and put things away a little bit, let it dry, I pulled out a pair of scissors and trimmed down any of the ribbon part hanging off the edges of the cards. So you can see it didn't matter that one little gold strip did not, like, it hung off of the cardstock, the die did, because I don't need it. Okay, card bases. These are 2 pre-cut card bases and pre-scored card bases. Wow, that was weird. Pre-scored card bases. I got them from Amazon. It's just a US A2. That means it's half of a sheet of 8.5 by 11 inch cardstock. So it measures 4 1/4 inches by 5.5 inches. Sorry, had to pause and sneeze. Now we're going to go ahead and put our card panels onto our card fronts. Typically, I leave a little bit of a border, but this time I am not, because I meant it to look like a wrapped gift. So I'm putting double-sided adhesive on the back of my card panels. I am lining it up, and my card is a little bit longer than my card panel. And that's because, you know, they're stack cut, they're pre-made. It happens. Even if I were to have cut the cardstock in my craft room, there are chances that the card base would poke out behind that pattern paper. But that is about the easiest fix in crafting, in card making ever. I just pulled in my guillotine trimmer, lined up the edge, and lopped it off. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. No big deal. This guillotine trimmer can go through at least 2 layers of cardstock. So no big deal. And once I had them all cleaned up, I got them all ready to go. And I thought, okay, these turned out absolutely perfect. Easy pattern paper, easy dye, and it's way better because I don't have to actually tie the bow. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I have a couple of other videos here I think you would like as well. I've also added that subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you did. Leave me a comment down below. I enjoy reading your comments. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video, and have a really fabulous day.